This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Days after the NDTV-HINDU-NEWS resignation, sources suggest Pranab Babu has offered 2 cabinet berths to the DMK, but Karunanidhi is not yet ready. More power to the DMK Congress ties, says troubleshooter Pranab Mukherjee, putting all rumours to rest. This ahead of a likely central cabinet shake-up.
This alliance is there, the alliance will continue and it will be strengthened.
Amma keeps her promises with the farmers of 6,000 villages in the state, will launch a free cattle scheme in 2 months. And leaving town for a few days to beat the heat, here's a double bonanza towards security and power cuts, the intelligent UPS of today. Welcome to the news tonight on NDTV Hindu. I'm Evelyn Matthew. You're watching the news at 9. Let's also bring you the national headlines. The Maya government has failed the farmers of Uttar Pradesh, declares Rahul Gandhi at the Mahapanchayat, promises to bring a just land acquisition bill. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh meets Sonia Gandhi ahead of the cabinet reshuffle that's likely on Monday. Despite the buzz of a portfolio change, Veerappa Moily says he's confident of retaining the law ministry. Jagan Reddy hits out at the Congress, says the party is responsible for the mess in Telangana. After Murdoch shuts down News of the World, the sacked employees use Twitter to express shock and anguish. And Sudan, Africa's biggest country, splits into 2. South Sudan is born. Will it end years of conflict now? In the shadow of Dayanidhi Maran's resignation from the Union Cabinet, Pranab Mukherjee's first visit to the city comes after the general elections to the State Assembly here in Tamil Nadu. Sources suggest that the Finance Minister had a 20-minute one-on-one discussion with Karunanidhi today and that 2 cabinet berths were offered to the DMK. But we do also have news that Karunanidhi is still reluctant on sending replacements to the Union Cabinet. And with the DMK's blue-eyed boy Maran putting in his papers just 2 days back, there were also reports of strained ties in between the Congress and the DMK, that is. But ahead of that impending cabinet reshuffle coming on Monday, the Union Finance Minister and the Congress party's troubleshooter called on the DMK patriarch and put to rest all of those rumours and speculations of the straining ties between the Congress and the DMK.
May I have the equivalent, sir? This alliance is there, the alliance will continue and it will be strengthened.
Until December 2010, the Congress-DMK alliance was the strongest political saga. In just 7 months, it has become the longest-running serial of uncertainty. After the poll debacle, DMK patriarch Karunanidhi even sounded like a moral science teacher. With Amma firmly in the saddle and Annai Sonia, as he is known to refer to Ms. Gandhi, keeping a dignified silence, his beloved daughter Kannimori in jail and blue-eyed boy Dayanidhi Maran resigning as Textiles Minister, Karunanidhi has to take a political call.
The big question now is, will Karunanidhi ask for a replacement for Maran in the cabinet, and will he be able to revive the DMK's fortunes? Like all soap operas, a twist in the tale soon is likely. In Chennai, with camera person Devraj, Pratiksha Ramkumar for NDTV Hindu.
Well, moving over to the top national story, it's been on the cards for weeks, but now it seems that the much-anticipated reshuffle of the Union Cabinet will in fact take place on Monday, with the Prime Minister meeting Sonia Gandhi today to discuss that particular issue. The reshuffle becomes all the more imperative now after the resignation of Mr. Maran, who has been accused of involvement in the 2G scam. The revamp is expected to be more of a corrective measure for the government that has been under siege over charges of corruption. And ahead of that reshuffle, Veerappa Moily said that he had no doubts about staying on as the Union Law Minister.
It is for the Prime Minister to do that. It is his prerogative. He will do it, and we have no reflection or comments on that.
Will you continue as the Law Minister, sir?
Pardon?
Will you continue as the Law Minister in the cabinet?
I see you have a doubt about
पसते हैं, पीसते जाएं कैसे भी, हाँ, लेकिन जब तक तुरूप नहीं निकलेगा तब तक यही हारते जाएंगे वो। एक के बाद एक मंत्री चले जा रहे हैं, जेल की हवा खा रहे हैं, और कई लोगों ने रास्ता तय कर लिया जेल जाने का, रास्ता उनको पक्का हो गया। ये सरकार क्या करेगी? और रीशफल कोई नया लाएंगे तो क्या होगा?
So a big question now, how wide a scope will the actual reshuffle have? Many believe the revamp is expected to be more of a face-saving tactic. Take a look.
When the Corporate Affairs Minister Murali Deora declared his desire to quit cabinet, it may have come as a relief for Dr. Manmohan Singh, one person less that he has to accommodate or take a decision on. After holding the Prime Minister's post for 7 years, Dr. Singh may not be able to call himself a reluctant politician any longer, but he's certainly been reluctant, even diffident, when it comes to changing his cabinet. Here in the lanes of power in Delhi, reshuffle is certainly the buzzword, but no one's quite sure what form or shape it's going to be in. They're all wondering who Dr. Manmohan Singh, in his quietly assertive style, will choose to be in the next cabinet. On the back foot for several scams and an unwillingness to communicate directly, Manmohan Singh's critics say the dithering on the cabinet reshuffle is yet another example of paralysis at the top levels of government.
पार्टी का ये मानना है कि मंत्रिमंडल के रिशफल से बहुत कुछ प्रभाव नहीं पड़ेगा। अगर देश के प्रथम कुर्सी का रिशफल हो तो शायद कुछ संभावना बन सकती है।
Ironically, Dr. Singh's style stands in contrast to even Congress Prime Ministers like Rajiv Gandhi, who had 17 reshuffles in the course of just 3 years.
I have no memory of how many times there were cabinet reshuffles. All I have a memory of is that it happened very, very often indeed. Okay. And he constantly felt that if he made an example of ministers or civil servants who went wrong.
Old-timers say Rajiv Gandhi's personal likes did not define his cabinet choices.
Ram Mohan Rao was the information top. What do they call them? The head of the information bureau.
Yeah, that's right.
The press relations bureau, PIB. And he unfortunately referred to Shri Jagjeevan Ram as having passed away before he had quite passed away, and immediately had to pay the price for it, although personally Rajiv ji held Ram Mohan Rao in very, very high regard.
Iyer says portfolios changed numerous times during Rajiv's tenure. In contrast, there's been only one minor reshuffle in UPA 2. And in UPA 1, there were 3 reshuffles in all. Experts say frequent reshuffles were a luxury which those in coalition governments cannot afford.
Rajiv Gandhi had a majority of 402 seats. He could take liberties. In coalition partner, you have to satisfy the partners so that the government can be stable. Regional parties who helped the Congress or earlier the BJP formed governments at the center have provided a modicum of stability, but they have been too demanding.
Manmohan Singh also has to contend with the several disconnects between the party and the government. During the last reshuffle, for example, the Prime Minister's keenness on Montek Singh Ahluwalia and before that C. Rangarajan to get the finance portfolio was squarely rejected by the Congress party.
In a democracy, the cabinet is a manifestation of the various political balances. You know, often in the media we like to think of the cabinet as a team of experts. They are not experts. They represent different regions of the country. They represent different communities in the country. They represent different castes in the country. They represent different ideological persuasions within the Congress party and the ruling coalition.
Never before has the UPA been so badly in need of an image revamp. But even at this stage, sources say, the Congress President Sonia Gandhi and the Prime Minister may only tinker with changes and not bring the axe down. Some say at the cost to the government's own credibility. In New Delhi, Sunetra Chaudhary for NDTV.
Now, if those load-shedding troubles have threatened your space and security, when we come back, we bring you a smart idea to save the day.